Hello, I'm Catherine Higgins, and this is my genre analysis oral report. My topic that I chose was scientific papers with a special look at microbiology and the Rio Grande River. I specifically went and chose examples with a look at microbiology and especially with the river in our area simply because I'm interested in water issues that have been going on in this area and in this little society we have here. And so I thought, well, I might as well look at science in association with the water in this area. Like I said, I am looking at scientific papers. This is pretty important because in science, if you do research and if you do studies in a particular subject, you need to write it, document it, and then publish it so that your peers can see the work that you're doing. And this is especially difficult sometimes because you have to have a fairly in-depth analysis, and your study has to have some significance. And so the writing, documenting, and publishing shows that your work is significant because it has been chosen to be published. Dynamism. The situations that this genre is used in is, like I said before, definitely written to communicate scientific research to the rest of the science community at large. So publishing is how this genre communicates beyond like the interpersonal emails and things like that. There is the way that they share their work and show what they've been doing to the rest of the community is through publishing in journals, newspapers, online websites that specifically cater to the scientific community. Now, the style in which this genre is writing is fairly specific. It is very factual, and it is only related to the study in question. You won't find expressivist writing in the content of a paper. So it's fairly inflexible. The interview that I had said that when a scientist is writing to get one of their studies published, they have to meet a list of requirements from various journals to be able to even be considered to be published. And that's the first step. The second step is actually for them to look at your study and decide if the study has value. So it is fairly inflexible, though he added a little thing at the end saying, though there are always loopholes that you can work around. So there is a little bit of quote-unquote wiggle room that you can find, though from what I found and the 4 examples that I have, they are all written in the same style and with the same voice. So it is really an inflexible genre. Though, like my interview also said, that biology studies nature, and nature mutates and evolves and changes. And he said our writing does the same, though it happens pretty much at the pace of nature, really slow. It only changes when there is a need to change. Other than that, they rely on the stuff that works, and basically tradition is pretty much key in this genre. Which leads me into situatedness. The audience of the scientific genre is fairly specific to the scientific community. The community in general is very diverse, and so for a specialized paper, the audience is going to be a specialized group of people. For example, the Rio Grande River and microbiology. There isn't going to be people from cancer research or from other genres reading these papers, because it doesn't really have any bearing on their profession. And so there are little communities within the scientific community that read specific kinds or specific topics of a paper. The audience is actually extremely important. Like I hinted at a little bit earlier, they decide the value of a publication, and they control what is considered important and what isn't. I found something called impact factors, which is a way of qualifying and qualifying, both will work in this instance, a publication and its potential impact on the scientific community. And it is a number system. They calculate the impact of a journal, so journals themselves can have an impact factor, and publication, like the document that is being published, it can have an impact factor. Obviously, if your publication gets published in a high impact factor journal, then you're probably going to have a fairly good topic and research and results to read about. Another aspect is that the reader himself really has power over the author, because the author has to conform to what the reader expects. Now, if a reader picks up a paper and starts reading it and it's not in the style that they expect, it's in a strange format, they're having a hard time reading or understanding the information that's presented, what's the chance that the reader finishes the paper and tries to understand the consequences or importance of it? Not that much. So if an author wants to get read, he has to comply to the standard norm of the scientific genre in order to convey the necessary information within his published study. So because of this, the significance of the paper is really determined by the reader and the peers of the scientist. And the scientist, all he does is do the study, think it's important, and publishing it. After that, it's completely out of his hands. The audience is extremely, extremely important to the genre of scientific writing because of all the previously mentioned reasons. Next, I have form and content. I cannot speak today. The knowledge that is valorized in this genre is empirical data, facts, what you can prove, and hypotheses, and all of that. The formatting of a paper is pretty much set. You have a very firm flow of information. Abstract in the beginning, telling the reader what the initial forecasted results, what they thought was going to happen, the body, and then the results of what actually happened, and all of this done in a very, very formal and professional prose. Duality of structure. The relationship of the scientific community is seen within their writing, because at the top of every paper you have the authors. And if you look at it, you can actually see that most of the time there are more than one author. Of my examples, the lowest number of authors was 3 and the highest was 9. This shows that there's an interconnectedness in the community of working together on the same project. Now, what I found in my interviews that some of those names might not have actually been doctorates who were doing very hard and high scientific work on the study. but instead they were probably graduate students or undergraduate students who were given props for what they did with the study. They did a lot of the grunt work or the more tedious studies where they were cataloging or going out into the field and picking up feces for samples, things like that. Another thing that you can see is that so it's the interaction between institutions, labs, and professors and students is very important to this genre of writing. It's very collaborative, which moves on to community ownership. Now, there's a lot in this, and I see that I'm running out of time, so I'm just going to go straight into how taught is this genre. And it's very explicitly taught. There's actual classes that cover this topic: technology, scientific writing, depending. It's usually a sophomore level class. Another thing that I found, though, was that if a paper was required in a science class to try and get students to learn and to get practice in the style of writing, the teacher will assist you and they'll help you out if you're not sure what you're doing or if you've never written in such a style before. The student that I talked to that has been doing science for quite a while, he said that it was a little bit difficult in the beginning, but all it took was practice. And he's still learning because it is a fairly difficult genre to write in. So, this has been my oral report for scientific writing and that genre. I found that while it seems to be a very hard genre to read in, simply because there is a requirement of having a background in biology and in science and whatever specialty that the specific paper is on, there is still, those outside can still read the papers, the beginning and the end, and halfway understand what the scientific community is working on. I found that the community is very diverse and works together fairly well, though I am sure there is exceptions to that. Thank you very much, and I hope you all have a good day.